Are you looking for love? Is it difficult for you to meet the right person? When you're having problems finding love, it's all too easy to get disheartened or believe some of the damaging dating and relationship cliches out there. Tune in as Maria Romano and Flora Ong shares vital critical points to consider when dating, especially if you use online dating applications.
Hello, everybody. Maria Romano here from True Love Nuts. Oh my gosh, do I have a treat for you today? I am so honored to be in the company of Flora Ong. And I believe, are you in San Francisco area, Flora?
I am. That's correct.
And this is great because she brings such a wealth of information for those of you out there that are what? We're all looking to find love, right? We want to find the one. However, I know that Flora is going to share some great information about what you need to do to take those first steps so you can be successful. So welcome, Flora. Welcome. I'm throwing you hugs and kisses from Las Vegas. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm really good. It's a beautiful day here in San Francisco. So, yeah.
So tell me a little bit. I'm going to read a little bit about your bio, but you've been doing this for how long? Working with people looking to find love.
I've been doing this for like 3 or 4 years now, I think. Yeah, something around that.
So everyone, let me just share with you a little bit about Flora. Let me just pull up what I have over here. And you know what? She is a dating and relationship coach. And you know what? For those of you, she's a matchmaker. And she has set up hundreds of matches, and her success rate is 85%. That is impressive. And how she got started in this industry, she had a 14-year marriage that failed, just like millions of us. We're all no different. And what she found was something she never expected. She found out she had no idea to date, how to love, and how to be loved. Doesn't that sound familiar to you? Anyone out there? Because I know it does to me. As an experimental learner, she made a mistake. She made every mistake in the book. And you know what? Some of them twice. After experiencing a lot of pain and anxiety in this area, she turned her blinders into a quest, not only to find love, but to help others who struggle with the same issues. She's also a certified health and life coach, and she puts all of her focus towards working with men and women, helping to identify them, how to get back in the dating world. I love that. I think that's amazing, because we were talking right before we actually recorded this. And really the most successful coaches are the coaches that have what? We've been in the trenches. Would you like to share just a tiny bit of the backstory?
Yeah. I mean, I was married for 14 years. I came out of my marriage. I got divorced, and I started dating on the apps in particular. And, you know, it was a lot of fun to some degree, but I also started noticing that here I was, a 38-year-old woman with 2 kids, and I felt like a 16-year-old. And I was making the same mistakes I had made when I was 16. And I couldn't understand after, you know, one relationship, the next relationship, and all situationships, might I add, for the most part, that I just, you know, I was having the same problem over and over and really noticing a pattern. And when, you know, by the 5th time that the same thing happened, that I fell for somebody that wasn't really showing me enough attention, that wasn't really giving me the reciprocation that I deserved, and I was still deeply, deeply wanting that person, I started to feel like there was something really wrong with me. And then I figured out what it was. It was my attachment style. And it's, you know, now I use different terminology, right? But at the time it felt like something was wrong with me. Now I understand I just had certain coping mechanisms that helped me survive as a child, or helped me receive love as a child, that I brought into my adult relationships.
You know, you said something that's the attachment style, and I've talked a little bit about this on my podcast, and I know there could be hours and hours said about attachment style. And, you know, they did studies. Dr. John Bowlby, I don't know if you're familiar with him, right? He worked in the British orphanage. Yeah. And I think it's amazing that he found that kids that were orphans that were well taken care of, right, where they had everything they need, but they didn't have love and they didn't survive. to the age of 2. So I think it's important to understand, going back and thinking about your history with your parents or how you were raised. But what do you tell, your clients, Flora? They might have had a bad childhood, but that's okay. Could you kind of give us maybe just a few minutes of what you actually try to get them to do to just cope through it? Or
yeah, well, I mean, the first thing is the recognition that you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you, that you learn these mechanisms and these ways of coping in order to receive love as a child. And even if you had a reasonably decent upbringing, which I always look back at my upbringing and I think it was idyllic. I had loving parents. I had like a lot of family, but still my parents didn't know how to emotionally attune to me at the times that I needed it. And that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to emotional attunement. And I started reading one of the Gottman books, and they reference that in adulthood, that is the same thing that is needed to ensure that couples stay together, emotional attunement. And that means really paying attention to your partner, really paying attention to your child, really supporting their emotions, listening, looking them in the eye, not just being like on your phone when you're, oh yeah, that's a pretty rainbow. Yeah. And kind of not paying attention, kind of being dismissive, which a lot of us do when we're in relationship for a long time. But basically, whether it's in childhood or whether it's in adulthood, if you want to have a successful, loving relationship, emotional attunement is the key to that.
And I love that. You're right. Being present is the biggest thing. And we have so many distractions around us today. So, and I think it's a matter too of, so what would you tell somebody, let's say in their 40s or 50s, is getting back into the dating world? They've been out of it for a while. What advice would you give them? What are the key 3 things that you think would help someone today that is a little resistant? Maybe, do you believe in online dating? Just some
so the first things I would say is attitude is everything. That's probably all I would say. Like if I had to give a quick tip, attitude is everything, because you can be, you can be online dating, and if you have the right attitude about it, you will receive that back to you, right? So if you have a positive view on it and you go on the apps, you will get back positive reinforcement, but if you have a negative view about it, which we all go through it. I mean, I've been dating on the apps, this whole time since I got divorced, basically. And there are times when I'm feeling really good about it, and I find great people. And then there are times I'm just jaded, annoyed, frustrated, and that's reflected back to me. So your attitude about the process is going to be everything. I think understanding your attachment style and understanding your love languages is really, really important. I don't think anybody should date without understanding more than anything their attachment style, because it tells you how you relate to people naturally and automatically. And then you can work on that for sure. But your automatic responses are what need to be addressed, because if they're positive and healthy, great. But if they're not, that's something that you need to become aware of and understand that, in order to understand what's really happening in relationship. And then if you're looking for a third tip, I would say communication. Learning to really communicate how you're feeling and making sure that you're communicating with openness and honesty. And it's, I'm going real quick and saying some things, but there's a lot of depth in each of those categories that I just talked about.
There are, like I said, we can spend a whole day, which we don't have a whole lot of time, but I always like to give some value to my listeners. And, it's interesting. So let's just back up for a second. You're out there dating. Okay. And you're obviously on the apps. And I know there's a lot of people that are still resistant about the apps, but tell me, you talk about attachment styles. Do you find that when you meet women, I shouldn't assume, I'm assuming
men.
Okay, yeah. No, I know in this world, like I said, I marry people. I never assume the partner is the opposite sex, but Do you find that if you're dating a man, do they then become a little insecure if you happen to be a woman that's ambitious, which you are, you're self-sufficient? What do you recommend for women that are ambitious and when they meet a man to how to
Well, there's two sides of that, right? Interestingly, because as a matchmaker, I get a lot of clients that are very successful women and that want men that are at their level or above, and are always fixated on the idea that men below their level will be intimidated by them. And there's the side of it that from the woman that has to recognize, what are you really looking for? Are you really looking for somebody who has the same amount of money as you do? Or are you looking for a loving relationship from somebody who's going to make you feel safe and secure and hold space for your emotions, And I think that becomes sometimes missed in, when women are looking for men that aren't intimidated by them, because you really have to dig deep as to what you're actually asking for, because a lot of people interpret safety, they interpret stability as money, but that's not really necessarily what it is. And then from the male side, I think a lot less men are intimidated by a woman's success or money than they are. Again, I think that it's a dynamic that plays out. So it's kind of a hard question, because I think the woman a lot of times has an issue with paying for things, if you will, right? Deeper in the relationship, because for her, it feels like she's not being taken care of. And so that dynamic, that feeling makes the man feel like he can't do enough and he can't be enough, and therefore he becomes insecure. So there's all these dynamics that play out in these relationships, and I wish I had like a quick answer for you that I could just be like, oh, just this, but I think it's a dance that happens between the two.
Now, you think that maybe that's a generational thing? Do you think more baby boomers and millennials feel that way if a woman happens to make more than a man, versus as you get into the, the Gen Xers and baby boomers, but millennials and younger? Do they have a different approach?
I think millennials are still kind of with us, as Gen Xers and us baby boomers. But I think that Gen Z is going to really change the game with that for sure. And I'm very interested to see how, as these kids grow up, what the relationship, the feminine masculine relationships, I'm very interested to see how it shifts, because it is already changing.
So for the listeners out there, because I want to also just touch a bit about what you're doing this weekend, what you're promoting as well. But for the listeners out there too, what if you talk about the attachment styles? Are there any books that they can read that would, assist them if they didn't have, the money for coaching to help them through?
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, they should go to my website, www.redo.love. And love is the extension, so there's nothing after that. And they should take the attachment style quiz. Then they can go and read Attached by Amir Levine. Once they know what their attachment style is, right, given that quiz, they can go and read the book Attached by Amir Levine. That is basically the premier book. It's kind of Attachment Theory 101. It talks about the 3 big attachment styles. It doesn't really mention the smaller 4th one, but that is also important. And once you read that book, you can then start to do kinds of more research. There's a lot of information online. There's a lot of information on my Instagram page that you can look at. And yeah.
Well, I'll be putting that anyway in the show notes as well. I have your website up, which I think is great. I always believe in taking, the quiz on how you want to receive love. I think that is Very, very important on the type of love that you want to receive in any relationship. So tell me a little bit about, we have a few more minutes left, about what's coming up this weekend. What are you doing? So everybody can know even though this might be out after that, I'm sure this is not the only time you offer seminars, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this weekend, I'm part of a really amazing opportunity and this is partially why coaching is so important, because we aren't taught to date, right? We're taught that we're just supposed to organically meet somebody in the world, things are supposed to work out, and life goes on. But the world is changing. The advent of apps has completely changed how we date. And the rules that applied once when you lived in a community, in a small community, and there were only so many people you could meet, do not apply today. So this weekend, I'm part of a seminar called Redesign Your Love Life. There's going to be 14 experts talking about every aspect of dating that you can imagine, from vetting to flirting to, I'm talking about attachment styles, to the neuroscience of why we do the things we do in relationships. And I will be specifically doing my Relearn to Date Based on Your Attachment Style masterclass. And that gives you the whole scope of everything that relates to attachment style, as well as which attachment styles work well together, and how the attachment styles functions throughout the phases of relationship.
Wow, it sounds incredible. Is there a fee for that if anybody is interested in it? And I know it's posted. I already put it on my social media so that it's already there. But can you share what the fee would be?
Yeah, it's we actually have a promotional code because we really want people to come. So the promotional code to get, I think it's $80 off at this point, is True Love. So just one word, True Love, type it in, and the fee with the code is $69.
That's great. And when does that start? What day?
It starts on Friday night, and it ends on Sunday night with a singles mixer. And it will be recorded. It's a virtual seminar, so it will be recorded. So if you can't make it, you can still purchase the videos and watch them.
Sounds like fun. I'm not doing any weddings. I might just join and do that as well. Like I said, it's for my listeners out there, we want to be able to bring value. And I know myself, being a widow after married 35 years, 10 years in the dating world, it is not that easy.
It is not that easy.
Now, okay. So I'd like to, before we wrap up, I always like to put my guests, quick hot seat, quick questions. Like nothing to do with dating. All right. Are you ready for this rapid fire question?
I'm scared, but go ahead.
Okay. So what is your favorite song that you've been listening to right now?
I can't get it out. It's a TikTok song, and it's Love Nuatiti or something. It's an African name, so I don't know that like extension, but it's Love something.
Okay, it sounds. And then any great book you're reading right now, or that sticks in your mind that you enjoy? I
am reading not A Course in Miracles, but the kinds of the summary of A Course in Miracles.
The Course in Miracles is really lengthy. It's like the encyclopedia.
Have you read it?
I tried to. It was okay. It was a lot. So
I forgot, it's on my nightstand, but if we had more time, I'd run and get it, but I'll leave it.
Okay. And one final thing, anything you'd like to leave our listeners before I wrap it up and take us home, and you can go on and help other people find love, right?
I would just say mindset is everything. So just, know that you are worthy. Just from the day that you're born, there is nothing you need to do. There is nothing you need to be. Know that to start, and then just keep it positive.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate everything that you were able to share with us today. And I'm sure your seminar is going to be an absolute hit. And I hope my listeners out there, again, I have this also on my social media. I'll put all the links in the show notes. And everybody, remember, you're looking to find love. You want to find love in the right places. Keep your heart open and keep your mind open. And as I always say, always remember to spread love. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.